welcome back to the Big Room Christmas edition.
Aww.
Well, kind of. Like we did Gremlins.
My favorite holiday.
Gremlins is your favorite holiday. Gremlins is a Christmas movie. You don't care for Gremlins.
So I did want to tell you guys, I like that movie fine. Like it's just
fine.
kind of like middle of the road for me.
Yeah.
But the way you guys reacted to it like made me like it more. Like I
Okay,
just
that's good.
like looking at it through y'all's eyes of like how amped you got on
it's
the
just silly
It's such an
80s.
absurd
And-
movie. Yeah.
And like I think I always just watched that. I always watched it as a kid and was like, yeah, this stuff happens. Like it never like it's just
What
so
does Nick
weird.
say? Things happen and then
Things
they
happen
stop.
and then they
stop.
stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like
He's so wise.
I always thought it was funny, but it never like was a movie that it's one of those movies that didn't like stick to my
Yeah, but
brain.
the stair lift murders. Okay. Now we're bearing the lead. Nick is dead.
Yeah, he's dead.
Ding dong.
I'm back. And
The Nick is
I'm-
dead.
I'm taking over.
Well, so Nick has probably diphtheria.
We don't know what he has.
He's got a cough, and it's too close to Christmas to be messing with that BS.
So I might be here next week.
He
Accidentally.
bravely stayed home. He decided to stay home.
The
Good
responsible
on
thing.
him.
And I decided
hero.
that his internet sucks too much to call in virtually, and also OBS is a nightmare. So David's, thank God for David to the
Hey.
what I texted you 7 hours ago.
I like movies, and
And your son won't stop watching this.
my son loves this movie right now.
So we're watching the Muppet Christmas Carol,
Yes.
not a Muppets Christmas Carol, as
Right.
I've been typing
The
in
Muppet
Discord for
Christmas
2 weeks. The Muppet singular, even though there are multiple Muppets Christmas Carol.
Man, there's a lot of cool Muppets in this one.
There are new Muppets.
There's a
in this
lot
There
of
are new
for
Muppets
reasons
in
we'll
this
get into in un momento.
I don't have any fun facts like Nick.
Oh, I do.
usually
I do.
does, so
I,
I'm
I
Cameron
did the,
has
I
a
did the
lot.
hashtag research. I took the hashtag time in. Thankfully, before Danielle went to choir practice and dropped me off at pub.
I have one fun fact for the movie.
I hope I don't steal it. If I do, just go. Ah!
Yeah.
So we're watching the Muppet Christmas Carol, which was released on December 11th. Never forget, 1992. It had a budget of $12 million dues.
Today's December 11th.
It is. We're
Oh!
literally
Sorry.
watching this
Serendipity.
32 years
Wow.
later.
Amazing.
32 years later is wild.
Recording this 32 years
Yeah.
later. When were you born?
90. So
Oh,
I'm
so you
34.
were but 2 when this released.
Yeah. The age of my son.
The age of your son.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Wow. It had a budget of 12 million. I can talk, I promise. And the box office was 27.3, which it must be said isn't brilliant.
No.
Well, it was supposed to be. This isn't my fun fact. It was supposed to be a TV movie.
by ABC, and then
Yeah.
the Disney executives caught wind of it and went, no, theatrical.
Disney doesn't always do right by the Muppets, but in this case they did.
And then they didn't.
Well, yeah.
And then they didn't. However, the director is Brian Henson, son of Muppet founder Jim Henson. And this is the first Muppet theatrical release or Muppet movie period
Yeah.
post Jim Henson's death in 1990.
I think the last Muppet thing Jim Henson did was the Muppet 3D show that's in Hollywood studios right now.
For now.
For now. But it's okay.
What is that getting replaced with? I don't remember.
It's a whole Monsters,
Monsters
Inc. land.
Monsters
Yeah.
Inc.
It's gonna
Land.
be. Yeah, it's gonna
So
be.
this
rad.
is-
I mean, I'm way more excited for that than Muppets 3D. I'm sorry.
Is that coming to Orlando?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
in Orlando.
I must admit, I don't know where Muppet is.
It's
I don't
right
know where Muppet
outside of
3D is.
Galaxy's Edge.
I don't
So-
know where.
Do you know where that
Star
beer
Wars.
place?
The beer place.
It's
Yeah.
kind of near.
It's kind of near
like-
the beer place.
Yeah.
How embarrassing
I mean,
is that?
emphasis on the kind of near the beer place.
Yeah.
So it's
but
like
that
just
quadrant.
off like the central
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
lake of Epcot.
So like
not
there's,
Epcot,
there's
Hollywood.
Star Tours.
Yeah.
There's Star Tours. You know where that is?
Yeah.
Right there in that back corner.
How the hell is Star Tours still around? When is
Man,
that going
it's
to get
a-
replaced with something
it's
that doesn't
never
make
going
me
to,
sick?
Because it's a classic, and I wish it would go away.
But you know,
makes me sick.
some
makes
people
me
have probably
sick.
said that about Carousel, and they're wrong.
Yeah.
Now, there has been Muppet news last month.
Oh my gosh.
There was breaking and actually rather large Muppet news. Now, they have the Muppets. I believe the lot was purchased after Jim Henson's death, but there is a Muppet lot
Yeah.
in Hollywood, and it's after Henson's
like
death.
a parking lot.
No, like a
like
a
the movie
studio,
lot.
like the one
Like
that you
a
went to with
studio
Gilmore
lot.
Girls.
Okay.
But
like a
Muppets-
lot of
The
Muppets.
Muppets
It
park.
actually
They're
the
tiny
lot was
soft cars.
the lot was founded by Charlie Chaplin, in I believe
wow.
the 1930s. So this lot has been around for 90 years. The Muppet Company has outgrown the lot, so they put it up for sale this year. The leading bidder was the Church of Scientology.
No.
However,
Why?
their bid expired.
Do we have like a foghorn?
I don't. Even if I did have the iPad, which I don't have here because it's probably dead
We
and
need
there's no
that
hot
sound.
points. But I need to get a foghorn. The Church of Scientology almost bought it, but their offer expired. So who swooped in but my little angel baby, John Mayer, purchased
No way.
the Jim Henson lot
Is he going to historical preserve it?
for between 40 and 60 million. Now,
That's a
he's
lot.
had offices there between 40 and 60 million, depending on your source. Most sources, Rolling Stone, LA Times, cite 60, but Wikipedia cites 40. Somewhere in there. The official figure, I'm certain, hasn't been out there.
Closed? Okay.
Disclosed, thank you.
Yes.
Good
I
job.
almost said excluded.
good
Doesn't make
word.
sense.
Excluded.
So he had offices. John Mayer has offices on that lot. From my understanding, the history of the Muppets there and whether they still operate there is very not out there. Like
Right.
I tried to, like, is John Mayer gonna let the Muppets still use it? But it sounds like they outgrew it and are moving somewhere else, and that's why it went up for sale. So he recorded it. There's been a recording studio. A bunch of artists have used it over like the 60s, 70s, 80s decades. He actually recorded his 2021 album, Sob Rock, there. And I'm certain John Mayer seems to have respect for historical preservation. So
Yeah.
I'm certain, like, I don't think he's going to tear down the Kermit statue out front. Like,
Right.
I don't expect him to change the name,
It's
but
perfect
I
decor.
don't know.
Why would you do that?
But it's not like it's like actual Henson late 70s era
Yeah,
history.
yeah.
It's post Henson's death, I believe they took over the lot. But John Mayer bought it, thank God. Better him than the Church of Scientology. A lot of people hate John Mayer, and they can suck my ass. Now,
I kind of would like to see him in a Muppet movie.
Yeah, that would be fun.
he's certainly been on Sesame Street, right?
He has to have been on Sesame
has to have been on
But
Sesame
those aren't Muppets.
Same company.
Same company, but not Muppets.
Different vibe.
Just like
There's
Fraggle
a-
Rock as well.
Different
Yep.
vibe.
I don't know anything about Fraggle Rock. I know my dad was into
Fraggle Rock
as
is
a
pretty
kid.
cool,
Yeah.
but it's a kid show.
It's a kid show.
Yeah.
The Muppets are good because they have adult kind of.
Do you know? So
They bridge that gap, I think.
To give you a good idea of Fraggle Rock type Fraggle Rock puppets, do you know the scene in the movie where like the spider is like
The
buying,
fence. Yeah, the fence is buying the stuff.
buying the stuff from the people after Scrooge dies? Like where there's like a lot of stringy cloth coming off of them
Yeah.
and stuff. Those are sort of
It's
Fraggle
more of
Rocky.
that.
Yeah.
A little more rough.
Yeah, they live underground and
Okay.
so they got a fur. Like,
It's pretty cool that they have 3 shows.
yeah.
Well, they have more than that, actually, but 3 that come to mind. And to be honest, I wouldn't know about Fraggle
And
Rock if my
multiple
dad hadn't
movies.
brought it up. So,
Dark Crystal,
Yeah.
like all that stuff.
is now, so
Labyrinth.
Michael Caine in this movie.
This is my fun fact. It's my favorite thing about
Okay,
this movie.
so Michael Caine, I have a quote from him actually. He was approached, a couple people approached to star in the role. There were 3 English actors, none of which I recognized, so I didn't write them down. And also George Carlin
Yeah, which is bizarre.
was approached, American actor, American comedian, the late George
I mean,
Carlin.
he is grumpy about a lot, so he could be a pretty good Scrooge.
It's pretty good that Bill Burr is like turning into our George Carlin. I
Yeah.
just appreciate him to no end.
Him as
but
Scrooge would be great.
Michael Caine was ultimately approached by Brian Henson, and his quote was, upon accepting the role, I wrote it down. Quote: "I'm going to play this movie like I'm working with the Royal Shakespeare Company. I will never wink. I will never do anything Muppety. I'm going to play Scrooge as if it is an utterly dramatic role and there are no puppets around me." Now,
He nailed it.
there are 2 actors that are heralded for their work in Muppet films. Michael Caine, who approached the Muppets as if they were Shakespearean actors alongside him, and Tim Curry, who
Yeah.
approached, was he in Treasure Island?
Yeah.
He approached Treasure Island as if he was a Muppet.
Yeah, basically.
And that's what
he's
you
kind
read
of a
online.
Muppety actor anyway.
He is.
He's very over the
He's an
top.
oddball.
And I love him. But yeah.
Michael
Two
Caine,
sides of the coin there. Yeah.
right? And both, like, the reason that this movie was selected for this, because I originally actually wanted the Jim Carrey kind of odd 3D first,
That one's kinda
early
scary.
2010s, and I like that one, particularly for its
Robert Zemeckis.
and it's the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come. You're yet to pass. I really like how he extends through in that movie. He extends through shadow,
Yeah.
which is really cool. And I think that's a well done movie. It's not, it's kind of middle of the pack in ranked Christmas Story adaptations. This one is often number 2. That was this. Sorry, my cup
No,
popped.
you're fine. What's your favorite Christmas story?
So
Or Christmas.
I was trying to look up. I think I've
Carol.
seen the one in the 1980s before.
84, because that's the one I kept mixing this one up with.
That's the one I think I've
Is that the one where the
seen.
guy opens up his coat and there's like kids inside of him, like he's
Yes.
trying to sneak into
Yes.
a movie?
That's,
Okay.
Is that
That's-
Christmas? The Ghost of
That's the
Christmas
84
Present, I
one.
think, does
Yeah,
that. Yeah, that one I've seen.
Maybe
but-
I haven't seen as many as I
What?
thought.
but only once or twice. Now, there's one in the 1970s that stars Alec Guinness as
Ooh,
Scrooge.
that would be-
Ni-
Oh.
1970, A Christmas Story. I really want to watch that one. But the number one I often see is the 1954, 58, like one of the earlier ones. It's probably black and white. I'm sure it's excellent. I want to watch just a million Christmas Story adaptations after this.
So my favorite when I was growing up was Scrooged
I don't
with
know
Bill
that.
Murray.
I have not seen
You've
that.
never seen
and
that?
that one ranks pretty high.
That one has Bobcat Goldthwait in it. I'm
like
pretty sure.
as screechy 80s Bobcat Goldthwait.
As one of the ghosts. Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's the ghost of Christmas Present.
It must be said, I only know Bobcat as Harmontown, director of that one Robin Williams
Yeah,
movie
yeah.
with the Suicide Son.
Right.
Way to bring it down.
But it's that movie is a play on Scrooged.
Okay.
Or a play on A Christmas Carol. But it's probably like a close tie with this one. I've always loved these two, these versions.
Yeah, this one is up there for me.
Yeah.
I struggle with it on a level because, and I read a little bit of reviews of this from when it came out in 1992. And a lot of the reviews were, this is an excellent Muppets adaptation of A Christmas Carol. It's not the best Christmas Carol tale.
It's
And it
hits
I
all the
think,
beats.
I think that I agree. I agree with that on a level because I think that if you're a critic going into this expecting A Christmas Carol, the things that are going to pull you out of it are Remy the Rat
yeah.
and
No,
having
Rizzo.
the Rat. Sorry,
Yeah.
and having
The owner and proprietor of Pizza Rizzo in Hollywood Studios.
and having
It's Rat Pizza.
what the hell is Charles Dickens? Gonzo as Charles Dickens.
It's,
Now
it's the only version of the Christmas Carol told by Charles Dickens. I don't know why
Henson-
anyone isn't in love with it.
Henson stated that Gonzo was chosen because Henson chose Gonzo to play Charles Dickens because he was the least likely
Yeah,
choice.
of course he was.
And while Rizzo the Rat was added to inject some humor and serve as our Greek chorus analog. And longtime Muppets writer Jerry Jewell wrote this script. And he decided to insert Charles Dickens as a stand-in narrator in order to remain faithful to the original prose of the written material. The original Christmas Carol book is written by a nondescript narrator. You're laughing.
It's just the dynamic between the two is like one of my favorite things in the movie.
My favorite thing
Because-
is when Gonzo picks up like Ice Cube Rizzo and just smashes
Oh,
him on a...
that's a good one. That's not the one I was laughing about. My brain always laughs at when Rizzo falls down the chimney, and then Charles Dickens fully goes, "You get to have all the fun."
Yeah, right. He's like dancing on the goose. And...
What are you talking about? He gets to have. He just fell down a chimney that was probably lit.
Now, one of the things Danielle brought up when we were
Heat
watching
wave.
the movie was because Danielle did not grow up with Muppets.
Really?
She did not grow up with Sesame Street.
That explains
Were
so
puppets
much.
the devil?
Oh, that explains so much. Whatever.
See? Somebody that would watch Muppets wouldn't react like that.
All right. Simmer down. Why didn't you watch Muppets? Go.
I don't know. I didn't want to.
Stop. No, you
That's
just weren't
okay.
into it as a kid. Right? You just
Yeah,
weren't into
no.
it. Like Sesame Street wasn't your jam.
No.
5, no jive for you.
No, I was really strictly a Disney Channel kid.
Okay. Even into
Or
your
really,
early-
even Nickelodeon. Like, I mean, I liked Little Bear and
I
Franklin.
don't
That
know,
was all
when-
Nick Jr.
When we were early teenagers, I remember you being very Disney Channel pilled even then. Very Sweet Life of Zack
Yes.
and Cody.
Heck
That's
yeah,
So
Sweet
Raven.
Life. Yeah.
Early Hannah Montana.
And I was a Jimmy Neutron, Fairly Odd Parents
Yeah.
you know, Drake and Josh kind of kid.
I don't know. The Muppets, we just never all Disney classic movies. We just never gravitated towards the non-Disney stuff, really.
Well, Muppets at that time was Disney.
That's true.
but
But you know what I mean? Like the classic animation.
What you think of when you think.
Yeah.
It's Carl. Did you grow up with Muppets or no?
Not really, but I didn't like try not to watch it.
Right.
Like I
If
remember
it was on, I would watch it.
We
yeah.
wore out. My family wore out. Even like my dad would put it on because he grew up with the Muppets in the late
Yeah.
70s. The Best of Ernie and Bert VHS.
Yeah,
we
and
wore that tape through.
I would watch like old Muppets episodes as a kid. Like
Yeah.
with
Hell,
people.
I'd watch 'em now.
With people I thought were stars
Now-
when I was a kid because I had no concept of time.
I
So I was
should,
like, oh wow, that Mark Hamill guy's a heck of a dude. Like I was like, you know.
I should correct in case my parents are listening. I was a Sesame Street kid, not
Yeah.
as much the Muppets. So I haven't seen
that's
a lot
fine.
of Muppets content. I did watch. I believe I've seen Muppets Go to New York,
The movie's good.
which was a 2000s offering, I think. But a lot of Sesame Street when I was a
You
kid.
guys really need to watch the
Snuffleupagus.
Jason's.
Isn't that New York?
No,
No,
the newer
it isn't.
one.
The newer one from
The-
2010s.
I can't remember his name. It's the
Jason
guy from-
Sudeikis from
No. Jason,
Seagal.
the one from I Love
Seagal?
You, Man.
Seagal.
Seagal.
Jason Segel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Seagal.
Him and.
Isn't he from How I Met
How I
Your
Met Your
Mother?
Mother?
Yes.
Yeah, How I Met Your Mother. Yeah, that movie is genuinely fantastic.
Okay.
So I was gonna say it's so weird, like having a kid right now, because he's 2 and he like yearns for older media. Like he loves like
He's an old soul.
claymation, stop motion stuff, like Wallace and Gromit. He loves puppets. When we go to Barnes and Noble, there's like the area where there's puppets and things, and
Yeah.
like he gets such a crack out of like, I'll throw my hand in a puppet and just start doing stuff. So like you know, like joking or laughing,
Rob a
and
bank.
rob a bank, whatever. So it's like genuinely, it's so interesting to see because I don't know if I was dedicatedly that way as a kid, but like
I was that way
loves
with Buzz
puppets.
Lightyear.
Oh, really?
As a kid, everything was Buzz Lightyear. My earliest toys, I
what a
remember I
shame
had like
with what they've turned him into.
right. I had like 3 or 4 Buzz Lightyear before he like took his batteries out and was inexplicably Spanish.
Yeah.
But when he wore a dress without
Yeah.
his arm and was Mrs.
Nesbit.
Miss Nesbit.
One of my favorite scenes in
Yeah.
film of all time.
I was big. I was a
Such a
Buzz
good
Lightyear
movie.
kid. Like I remember being at my grandpa's house in Atlanta, Georgia, before my sister was born. So I was like 4 or 5.
That's called committing to a bit.
And playing charades shittily as a 4 or 5-year-old because every time I would put my arms out like this, and guess what? I was Buzz Lightyear. That
Yeah.
was his wings. So, yeah, that was me. That was my analog to David the Fourth being into Muppets.
But so what did you guys think of the movie? Like the beginning. You know, they actually do a lot of setup before they get into the ghost stuff. The movie is very the second half is the ghost stuff, and the first, you know, half is
I really loved Scrooge's introduction.
yes.
That song reminded me of like the Miser song from like one of those, that old claymation Christmas.
Which
Yeah.
one is that?
And
The
then,
Year
like-
Without Santa Claus?
Yes, that's
Yes.
that
It's a
one's
Year
there.
Without Santa Claus.
There goes
Not the
Mr.
Miser
Scrooge.
Brother Christmas, which is dog shit.
Yeah,
It's the
that
Year Without
movie is
Santa Claus. Go ahead.
I loved the introduction. They kind of like they didn't really reveal him until he got to like his place of work, and then you're like, oh god, the whole town hates this guy, and then they like build how terrible he is, and then you get to like see him have that redemption arc. It's really
What I really like
good.
about it is this is a stupid thing to like.
No, it's
I'll
nothing
preface
stupid
that.
to like.
I liked catching on to familiar lines from other adaptations.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell they definitely did just hammer the square Christmas Story peg into the round Muppets hole.
Yeah.
And what sheared off was a bit of the seriousness, but they even kind of not break the fourth wall. That's not the right term. But like when the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come appears and he's scary, there's a moment where Gonzo is Charles Dickens and Rizzo the Rat are like, this is scary, we're going to leave. And they bone out. Like they
We'll see you
broadcast.
at the we'll see you at the epilogue.
Right, they
or whatever.
broadcast their
finale.
exit and then let us sit with the analog of death that is the Christmas Yet to Come.
pretty
Very
heavy.
very Victorian representation of death, and very akin to Victorian England, where Christmas time back then was a time where you celebrated your dead loved ones.
Right.
Oh.
That was a thing you did around Christmas time in Victorian England. I learned at the bar 2 hours ago.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of why Dickens had that specific portrayal of the ghost and leading Ebenezer to his own headstone, which is very cool. I like the Christmas tale. I like what's that tweet that was floating around the last couple days in lieu of the United Healthcare CEO murder.
Like a Christmas. I almost called this a Christmas story. A Christmas Carol is just a tale about how you have to basically like traumatize rich people into sharing.
Oh my god!
Like,
I literally wrote
they
this
won't
should be
share-
required watch for billionaires.
Yeah.
like
I said, okay, I was
to
thinking last
traumatize
night
them.
in bed that every millionaire we should require to watch this movie in an orphanage every year, and every billionaire should be required to watch this movie in an orphanage every year next to a guillotine.
they should be required to live it.
Yeah.
Like, they
is-
should have to experience the
It is
three ghosts.
exceptional how they genuinely also, we've all seen Wicked at this point.
Yes,
but like
except Carl.
a
Yeah,
good
we've all
chunk-
seen it.
A good chunk of the movie is also about like
Class warfare.
class war. He's raised, and he's alone. Like, and part of it is like he sort of becomes this way because he's treated kind of crappily, and the only people that treat him good are people that are trying to like make him mean.
Yeah, it's kind
See,
of the tail
I,
end.
feel,
of
I thought he was
apprenticeship.
alone. 'cause
Childhood
by
trauma.
he was like, I'm not going home.
Well,
I'm
he
staying
is
here.
though, but he's more or less a product of his environment. It's like
Yeah,
the,
it's-
it's
it's
like
big-
the
it's a-
Victorian version, the more oppressive, classist version of what we would call the American dream, which is also very classist because the American dream is completely unobtainable in the 2020s.
As Sam Eagle says, it's the American dream, and he says, "No, we're in the U."
Yeah.
No,
we're-
just kidding. The British way. That part got me. Just
That's funny. That's funny.
business. You'll love business. It's the American way. I'm sorry, the British way.
But
Like,
it's that
whole
it's that
bit was funny.
obsession, that drive to exit poverty, if you will, and
Yeah.
enter money and success. That's why we have that friggin' song that got cut. What is it called?
My brain.
Love.
When Love Is
Goes-
Gone.
Love is gone.
When we have When Love Is Gone, that's our nail.
Why is the love gone?
That's our solidity behind, he's choosing money before everything.
Yes.
And when you choose money before everything, you get pushed away, and then you become
Yeah.
miserly. Now, I mentioned Walt Disney Studios nailing some things and killing some other things. We watched, if you want to watch this movie, go to Disney Plus, type The Muppet Christmas Carol, and then don't watch it. Go to the Extras tab.
Yeah.
And there's the full version.
It's 5 minutes longer.
The full version is 5 whole minutes longer. I promise you can do it. You can last through it. But there was a song called, there is a song rather, called When Love Is Gone. And it is the story, it's the song that happens between Scrooge and Emma.
I forget her name, which
think
is
her
terrible.
Belle.
No, Belle.
Belle.
And it's the whole like, Belle's, I'm leaving your ass because you're obsessed with money and you're not going to give me a solid
won't
relationship like I
commit.
want.
But like you're not going to give this to me, even though I am perfectly fine existing the way that we are existing.
Right. He wants
is
to dig
fine,
deeper.
and he wants more money. He thinks that there is a monetary value.
She even
that
says
he has-
you've achieved partnership. Like that was his
Right.
first goal.
He thinks that in order for him to be worthy of her love and affection, there's more money he has to earn.
Right.
And he's unwilling to listen to her say, "You're losing me because you're not even
You
understanding
just can't
that
hear
you're
it.
good. You
You
can't hear it."
Now,
Which is just so rough to watch.
it is, and it's one of the pivotal moments. I think there's actually 2 pivotal moments in the Scrooge storyline in this adaptation. But first, that song is cut from the what we would call "quote unquote" theatrical release
Right.
of the movie.
It was
And
on the laser disc, I think.
Wow.
and that decision came down to the chairman of Walt Disney Studios, whose name was Jeffrey Katzenberg.
Yeah, Katzenberg.
He was responsible for the omission of When Love Is Gone, believing that the song would not appeal to young viewers. Brian Henson, to his credit, objected to that
Yeah.
decision, but he wasn't
Because he had
the
a good head on his shoulders.
he wasn't the
like his
distributor,
dad.
and he's still in charge of the Henson
Yeah,
company. Which thank God for that.
At the end of the day, his dad was willing to put complex emotions and feelings in front of kids.
I
and
mean,
ask
think
them to
about-
understand it. And
To that end, actually, put a pin in that. I want to finish this thought for a second. So, Jeffrey Katzenberg, I just want to note, he left Disney Studios in the very early 2000s, very late 90s. and he joined Universal Studios,
Oh.
and he is what gave us Shrek
Yep.
Oh,
and
Nice.
How to Train Your Dragon,
those are great.
and a couple other of the Hallmark, what we would consider Hallmark DreamWorks IPs between the years of 1999 and 2010.
I'm
or
pretty sure
12.
it's Katzenberg that led to some of the drama of, hey, you took a lot of the ideas that we decided to not do at Disney and go to Universal and do some of them.
tweak them a bit and then release them.
Yeah.
Well,
Pretty sure that Katzenberg was a
They didn't
big-
want him.
yeah.
And then when he ran out of those, they were like, "Oh, you don't really have much."
And they booted
to
him
offer."
after How to Train Your Dragon's like the last thing he did. He hasn't been there in 10 years.
Ooh.
He's also
Where's he at
probably
now?
78 million years
Who
old.
knows?
He's probably rich on a pile of gold. What did I
Yeah.
just put a pin in? Oh, When Love Is Gone. Okay. The music in this movie. I have but one Muppet movie to compare it to, and that is the Muppet movie.
Need to watch more of those.
Now, a lot of the songs didn't really stick out to me. One song did stick out to me in a negative way. The Ghost of Christmas Present song, which is called It Feels Like Christmas. I thought that was the weakest offering.
I think it's fun, but I get it.
But is it not relatively weak, like melodically, like the hook?
Yeah, it's just kind of a fun dumb
The hook
song.
read as we're trying to write a hook,
Yeah.
and it just didn't. You know what I mean? It's the one that I perceived as the most try hard, and that made me reject it. But I have to say that the other Muppet movie we've seen is the Muppet movie, and for me, I can't help but compare it. And nothing will ever come close to Rainbow Connection. for
No,
me.
nothing.
Just nothing.
I
It's
start
so
crying.
good.
I start crying on the opening notes almost every time.
You get 5 banjo notes in, and I'm weeping copiously. there's only one song. There's like 2 songs that can do that to me, and it's the
When
Rainbow
Love is
Connection
Found
and
in
Leia's
this
theme.
one is pretty close for me.
the what?
When Love is
The
Found.
finale, when love is
the epilogue.
found, when
Yeah.
everything's kind of resolved, that gets
See,
close.
And so that is so important to me. Like, it's so weird that When Love is Found exists and they cut When Love is Gone.
Right.
Because it is.
Where did it go?
How
it's
did we
the-
find it?
It's the resolution. It is the resolution to the prior song. And it's nice that it exists without When Love is Gone is not there. It's nice that it exists, but it has so much more meaning
Yeah.
when the other song does
I
exist.
just don't understand why you cut it, because like, not to bring this movie up for the millionth time this week. If you've been in our Discord, you're sick of me bringing this up. Mary Poppins has some down bummer songs,
Love Mary Poppins.
and they're in there,
would
and that
hate
was
it. It bugs
30
me out.
years before this.
Yeah.
Not quite, but 25 something years before this movie. Children love Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
If you have a spoonful of
yeah.
sugar, you can have a bummer song.
Yeah.
Helps the medicine go down.
Yeah.
It's funny that, they let Mufasa die by being trampled. That's
Right?
not too much of a bummer.
Well, that happened after
Like-
this,
Kids in the
to be fair.
70s grew up
Still.
with no, I am your father, and having to cope with that.
Only a
Like,
couple of years.
I just don't understand why you omit that to save 5 minutes of
I didn't
runtime.
think it was that bad at all. It was
No,
No,
Well,
it's
granted,
fine.
we're 30, but no.
Right, but it is a slow, sad song, and like kids, the only thing I can think is that kids do get taken out during the slower, sadder songs.
I mean,
but
for God's
it's-
sake,
It
what
may
is
just
the most?
not land
What
because
is
they've
the
never
most?
been in a loving relationship. It's not something that kids do. So it may
Right.
not just, it may just not scan for them.
But my retort to that, I brought up Mary Poppins. That was wrong. My stronger argument, the stronger song would be "When Somebody Loves You" from Toy Story
Yeah.
2. That's the most impactful single moment
Yeah,
in
I-
that entire movie.
Are you ready for this? This is like such an odd aside. I was in line for a water slide on the Disney Cruise Line. I was in line for a water slide on the Disney Cruise Line.
Don't tell me they played that song.
And a weird,
no.
vaguely upbeat techno remix, like chiptune
Stop.
version of that song was playing, and I just started crying. And like I was like, this is so weird because it's upbeat. It's just the song, but kind of upbeat.
That's the worst.
It was cool
When
background
somebody
music.
loves you,
No. There was no words. It just was the melody.
Okay, that's
And-
scans.
and,
I can
like, because
live with that.
Disney.
That's insane.
So I'll do 2 minutes of this. They love to do, especially in the parks. They love to do songs that you would know, just the melodies with musical background.
Yeah.
Like Hollywood Studios has my favorite opening park loop because it's all very swingy jazz versions of songs, which is rad because it's Hollywood
And
old Hollywood. Yeah. But so like to be waiting for this water slide and just to hear the So somebody loves me, like the tune of it, like to like a little bit of an upbeat, like electronic. I'm like, what? My emotions are through the roof.
All right, let's close the chapter on this song because I'm sure we could talk about it for a million years. I just want to note
It's a great
that
song.
On December 9th, 2020. So the reason that it wasn't included earlier was they lost
Yeah,
the
there's like,
tape. They lost it. They lost the film reel that had that song.
like with so many old like lost media type.
Yeah,
things.
it was just gone. And then in December 9th of 2020, they found it. Or rather, Brian Henson confirmed to the BBC Radio 2 that the original film negative of the movie, featuring the original footage of the song, had been found by Disney archivists and would be included in all future 4K releases. The full-length version of the film, including When Love Is Gone, was released on Disney Plus 2 years ago, December 9th of 2022.
Which was a big deal. I remember when it happened.
I whiffed it. I just didn't even know.
Yeah, I remember.
But yeah, it sucks that they actually. I like that they have the original theatrical version, and you kind of have to go to the extras to find it because
Yeah,
there's something about me
preserving
that
media.
wants, like for God's sakes, can we have the original shitty Star Wars movies?
No, George Lucas won't allow.
He won't allow. But when he's dead, which will be soon, I don't want to give a date because I don't want to be responsible for killing George Lucas. Like Schlatt is responsible for killing the Queen, but yeah.
So I love the little. I was wondering what y'all's favorite little asides were, because there's so many like little things that happen in the movie that made me laugh so hard, like the falling in the chimney. Scrooge mentioning that if it's cold, they can just work longer, and then they're like, heat wave.
They're in like the luau.
Yeah, they're in the luau, and like every time Kermit is trying to, or Bob is trying to talk to Scrooge about taking time off, they're like, "Come on, just do it.
Yeah,
just ask him. Just do it. Just do it."
Mine's got to be Rizzo, the Ice Cube still.
Oh, yeah,
when,
that
when
Ice
Gonzo
Cube is
smashes
so
Rizzo
good.
and he's in the Ice Cube. And he's like, "Thanks a lot." That's my favorite part. Daniel, you
I
have
think
a
I did
moment?
laugh out loud when the cat hits its face on the door.
Oh yeah,
It's like,
that's good.
but
That's
yeah,
good.
it is the Rizzo.
I like that the cat was a Muppet because it could have been very easy to
Yeah.
just get a cat, but no,
No.
Yeah.
a Muppet.
Puppet cat.
It's good.
Muppet.
Do you have a favorite moment at all, or anything that stands out? Next,
No.
Well,
I really like the heat wave luau.
Yeah.
that's excellent.
That popped me.
Heat wave luau is great. The pumpkins yelling because the fruit's alive for some reason.
I liked the
And
fruit
grapes,
being
yeah.
alive.
And they're like, "Help! They're stealing us! Help!"
I liked. Okay, I actually wrote a moment down. There's a moment where Gonzo says, "Wow, that's scary stuff. Should we worry about the kids in the audience?" And Rizzo's like, "Nah, this is culture.
No, this is
Like,
cold.
that's what's up. That's what's up. Nah, that's culture. That's
Which
good."
I feel like almost. So I've watched too many Jim Henson documentaries.
I
Probably.
gotta watch the new Disney Plus one. I
Yeah, it
haven't
was
seen
really good. Really emotional. For if you watch that stuff.
Poor guy worked himself to death.
Basically,
He did.
he
Sad.
just he's
He got
obsessed
sick
with
and was like, "I'll just work through it," and then
yeah,
died.
he thought it was just something he could work through. Use your PTO and go to the
Go to
doctor.
the doctor.
Go to
Go
the
to the
doctor. It's okay.
But like, I feel like that had to be like Brian Henson injecting some of his dad, because he very much, like I brought up. This is what you kind of put a pin in earlier, is that Jim Henson was very much about like not babying kids.
Yeah.
He was all about like, no,
Kids
you
are
give
emotionally
them-
intelligent.
You give them the stuff, they can come to terms with it, but like that's why like he liked making Dark Crystal and like Labyrinth and stuff that was like a little bit darker,
Dense,
a little bit
magic
weirder.
dense.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's like kids will never be emotionally mature if you don't give them emotions to process.
Exactly.
Do it.
You don't know how to handle things until you're presented with it.
Yeah.
It's your life isn't an HR
At
preparation.
9 years
video.
old, I had to come to terms with Darth Vader being Luke Skywalker's
Yeah.
father. I turned out okay. Fine. I'm fine.
Nick didn't
Fine.
know that until he was like 32.
30. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I do like the change. Not to jump to the beginning of the movie. I like the change
Always.
to two Marleys.
Yeah,
To let it be Statler and Waldorf, who are like,
Oh.
they're legit. They're some of my favorite Muppets. I like Statler and Waldorf. Just two crotchety old dudes. It's lit.
leave the comedy to the bears when they're yelling at Scrooge's. Also, there's so many little good lines in this, and I feel like that's how it is with all Muppet things. Is that like they're always peppering in like so many things that are just fun.
My favorite Muppet, whenever he pops up, is the one that's.
Oh, Beaker.
I don't know his name. Beaker.
Yeah.
Whenever he's on screen, I'm like, yeah.
Beaker and
Bunsen
Bunsen
Honeydew.
and Beaker. Yeah.
Bunsen Honeydew. I think that's
Just
his
whatever
name.
Yes. But Beaker's the
gets me every
Yeah,
time.
he's lit. He's lit. We had a Muppets Game Boy Advanced game I got in like
Nice.
2000. It was awesome.
That's cool.
There was a Gonzo like stunt driving level.
Yeah.
It was lit. The change in Scrooge. So to jump back into Michael Caine and his freaking Oscar award deserving performance in this freaking Muppets movie.
He deserves
that probably
so
made no
many
money.
awards. Throwing Muppets like they're real people. That was always.
He's also so
Thanks
because
for not yelling.
Thanks for not yelling.
because Muppets are puppeted, obviously with arms. He's walking on basically 2x4s the whole time because the set
I
has
didn't think
people
about
under
that.
it.
He almost hurt himself.
Wow.
I think I was reading like it was kind of a precarious set.
Yeah.
So
Because-
it's like you would respect his performance if it was done just on this floor, but the fact that he's having to work around Frank Oz puppeteering under the ground.
Yeah, I
Miss
didn't think
Piggy,
about that.
Like also shout out to Frank Oz being Miss Piggy and the Wikipedia. If you look up the credits,
Yeah.
normally like you have actor name, role
Right.
they play. For this movie, there's 3 columns. It's actor name, Muppet, then the role that both the Muppets and the actor are playing, which is just incredible.
Because they don't do the traditional credits at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the movie, it says Kermit the Frog as Bob Cratchit. They don't do
Yeah.
Frank Oz like they
Well,
do. The Muppet is
Frank
playing-
Oz wasn't Kermit.
right.
I forget
they,
who.
but they do.
Fozzie Bear too, right?
He's Foz. He's Miss Piggy. He's the Eagle.
Yeah, Sam Eagle.
He's Sam Eagle. He's many, many, many people.
Man, Sam Eagle.
Yeah, there have been 4 or 5 Kermits, maybe 5 or 6 Kermits since Jim Henson's passing, and one of them from the late '80s, early '90s is the roughest one, but
Yeah.
most of them are pretty good. The one we have now is very good. Now,
Yeah, and this one I was like, why does Kermit sound different? It's like, oh right.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
Kermit's dead. What did I want to say? Scrooge's progression. So you can tell that during that song that we've hammered down about, that's where he kind of starts to turn. Like he gets really weepy just in the eyes
Yeah.
during that song. And that's when he kind of starts to be nicer. His face turn, to use a wrestling term, begins at the Ghost of Christmas Past. And then the present one when he
Come in, brother. Know me well.
Yeah, when he sees his nephew taking the piss
Yeah.
out of him during that
such a
basically 20
hard-
questions version. But
that's
it's in
such a rough
it's in
scene.
every Christmas story, but
know.
it's so or Christmas Carol, but it's so good.
Yeah.
And that bums him out. But then Tiny Tim,
Yeah.
that's always I feel like in every version the big turn.
Yeah.
Is tell me Tiny Tim's gonna live, and Christmas Present is like, I can't tell you that. I can look a little bit into the future and I see an empty chair with the cane on it. And that's all I can see. And then Christmas Yet to Pass comes, and it's that whole scene is the roughest in my opinion. of the movie.
I think the line that gets me most during that scene is he's looking in the door and he says, it's the first time I think that Scrooge really understands what he's been giving Bob as
Yeah.
a payment because he's so disconnected from what money actually means to
Like all rich,
anyone.
what's the
Like all rich people.
Arrested Development joke?
Yeah, there's
What's a banana? $50 or
yeah,
whatever.
what's a banana? And so like he just looks at their food and he's like a meager feast, and the Ghost of Christmas Present. I can't remember the word, but he says, but perfect for them or something like
Yeah.
that because it's
It's
what
what
they're
they
used
have.
to. It's
Yeah.
what they have, but he is so disconnected from what real people engage with. That line always really gets me in that scene. Like the Tiny Tim stuff works on me, of course, but like the meager feast part, like
the disassociation,
disassociation.
between the classes.
yeah, because at the end of the day, like your boss is like, hey, you're doing a really good job. Here's $100 Christmas bonus. they don't know really what that $100 like. They have no clue
It's
what
$5
that actually
to
means.
them,
It's
or
$5
less.
to them, or less, or a tax write-off, and like
Yeah.
and
That's
like
probably
it's and they might say it means a lot to them to provide for people, but in my opinion it doesn't.
Well, it's very poignant today in the face of what could be a little the twinklings of a class awakening in the U.S. with this whole CEO murder thing, which eat the rich. Now, I like the
Only got to eat one,
I like the you gotta eat one
and then they'll get afraid.
just to get the taste. My favorite part about the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Pass is that he never speaks.
Yeah, points.
He does in some versions. I think maybe this is the Jim Carrey one. There's a very breathy, ghosty whisper of look.
Yeah,
As the hand stretches across the shadow. I recommend watching that one. It's only got like a 63% Rotten Tomatoes, but I think it's quite good.
it's because of that weird Robert Zemeckis Dead Eye stuff. That
Yeah, that
like-
Polar Expressy, just shitty animation. But
Yeah.
it's Jim Carrey, and he's killing it. And despite the weird mocap. But Gonzo, as Charles Dickens at the very end, after Scrooge has set up the dinner and brought the turkey and had his whole whatever comeuppance, but the right word. He looks into the camera and says, "And Tiny Tim, who did not die,"
That's the
like
best.
makes that
That's the
point, and
best.
that's really good, and I like that for the kids. That's for the kids, though. Tiny
Yeah.
Tim lives, kids, because Scrooge pays for his health care.
the just genuinely the comedic time of and Tiny Tim, who did not die. Like he does a whole
It's like,
tilting
what are the
his
Kevins?
head to look like into the camera, and it's so good.
We wouldn't have any Tiny Tims if we had universal health care.
It's
It'd just be Tim.
I mean, we
would
would, but
just
they'd,
be
Sometimes
Tim.
people, but they'd be taken care
There's
of,
too many
which
of
is
those.
as they should.
they'd be taking care of him. He'd have a better cane,
Oh,
maybe some vitamins.
He'd have a chair.
maybe.
Yeah. Taller chair. I like that they put his chair by the fire though, because his little tiny bones and he
Yeah.
warm. It's
Little
good.
tiny bones.
oh, the line of
Tiny bones.
when he it's the Ghost of Christmas Future, and the son is just like, yeah, Dad has been walking home slower these days. Just
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, I can't imagine. So,
Puts on a strong face though, that Bob.
what is it is it different as a parent watching this movie with your kid? I don't have any. I just have dogs.
Like I don't know. It's
Because
hard.
he's so young still. David's what,
yeah,
2?
there definitely two. There definitely is media out there that affects me differently now that I have a child.
Examples.
It's hard.
On the spot.
Like genuinely, there is like still like people are like, yeah, man, as a dad, like Last of Us really affected me. Like that stuff doesn't land on me. It's very overdone and overwrought. It's little things. So like the dad like describing where Tiny Tim is gonna, and like he's almost
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about him in
The
present
ducks.
tense.
yeah.
And like the ducks, that stuff really even now.
Oh,
like,
because
is
he
getting in my
buries
throat.
them on a hill so he
Yeah.
can look over the duck
'Cause
pond because he
he,
loves the ducks. Like that.
Yeah.
That I imagine is rough.
Yeah, and like
That's not for
there's-
me.
There's other
Like, damn.
There's other like Disney stuff where like it's the parent and the child and they actually have like a good relationship.
Yeah.
Like, it's like Frozen 2 has some stuff with
How about Incredibles?
Incredibles. We haven't really
Because that
watched
has an
those.
argumentative, pseudo-argumentative family dynamic, like
Yeah.
kind of like a Christmas Story does, where it's an interpretation of a real family that has real arguments and bickering and problems.
Haven't really watched. So like I sent the Discord, which got like Forrest kind of mad, whatever. It's so little
I feel
David.
like it was partially a bit. to
Yeah,
just-
little David likes songs.
Yeah.
And so like Incredibles just doesn't have
It
singing
doesn't
in
have
it.
singing. It's got
And
really
so-
good music, but
It's
I
got really good
feel
music,
like,
but,
like for me, The Incredibles when I was 14 or 15 awakened me to a
Yeah.
style of music that wasn't previously accessible, being jazz. I couldn't approach jazz. Because jazz was snooty. It was the Office bit. Just play the right notes.
Yeah.
And then you listen to Incredibles and you're like, oh,
Yeah, it's just rad.
jazz is it's a quilt, and the different parts of the quilt are different like subgenres of jazz, which I know nothing about, but I know that I like The Incredibles.
And so like Lil David really likes like things with songs in them. So like he sings "Let It Go" and Do you want to build a snowman? Like he's like singing songs now, which is kind of
It's the difference when you're writing a jingle or
yeah.
you're writing a song. The goal as a songwriter that has that approach is to write something whistleable. And that is not the Incredibles soundtrack. You can't whistle that, but you can whistle Let It Go.
Yeah.
It's earworm. You're trying to write earworms.
I do love the cockiness of the songwriter from Moana 2. If you didn't see the
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen the movie, but the adults were kind of railing the songs in it, like saying they're not that good.
Well, it sounds like someone trying to sound like Lin-Manuel Miranda. If you've heard clips, it's like a parody almost.
I've heard clips of the songs, and I think that they're serviceable. Like they sound like
I don't
songs.
think they're egregious.
And so the songwriter was just like, yeah, you guys can criticize it, but your kids are going to be singing it in a couple weeks. And I was like,
that's kind of valid.
true.
That's kind of real. It's going to make a jillion. It made like 235 million opening weekend.
I wish that anything Muppets did made that much money.
Yeah.
Because then we would get more of it.
Okay, let's turn our attention to Danielle.
Oh, no.
So you're fairly familiar with The Christmas Carol as a story.
Yes.
What adaptations have you seen?
So the only one that really sticks out of my brain is the Mickey Christmas Carol. I really liked it.
I haven't seen that one.
Little David is super into that one too.
I feel like I have to have seen the Jim Carrey one, but it doesn't, like, maybe I've seen parts of it on TV or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever sat down and like watched through the whole thing, or it was on at like a youth group event or something like that.
Okay.
So the only one that I can really think of is the Mickey Mouse one.
Yeah.
Is Mickey Scrooge in that?
No, he's Bob.
Or the
Bob.
Donald Duck?
The Uncle Duck
Yeah,
Scrooge
Uncle
McDuck.
Scrooge.
Yeah.
is
Okay, all right.
Yeah, Scrooge.
Scrooge McDuck, yeah, of course.
Uncle Scrooge.
I forgot that his actual name is just Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah.
Is that the diving into
It
a
was
room
right
full
there.
of coins? meme?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't do that in that movie.
Okay.
That's
Same
in
guy, though.
DuckTales. That's in DuckTales.
Same guy.
Same guy.
Yeah, same guy.
Yeah.
He's always the rich uncle.
So that's your
That's the one. I feel
most
like I
prominent
have.
memory, though.
That's such a good one.
That's the one you latch onto, though.
I think so. I feel like I have to have seen more because it's just so enmeshed in Christmas. But maybe I haven't.
I want to start watching some of the 70s, 80s ones and kind of find the one I've seen.
Or maybe like
I have
TV shows
memories
will do
of-
a Christmas Carol
I
episode
need to
or
see
something.
the one where y'all talking like there's a coat full of heads or something.
Well, I want to the one that I've seen.
Yeah,
Doesn't,
it was
doesn't
a
Bob
Christmas
Cratchit-
present, and he like opens his coat, and it's two like scrawny orphan kids.
Yeah, it's like this is basically the people you're pulling the food out of the mouths
Oh,
of kind of
gosh.
deal.
Yeah.
And Carl, in that one, doesn't Bob Cratchit kind of like hoist Tiny Tim up on his shoulder?
I just remember
think
that
I
one.
have-
The ghosts were a lot creepier.
Yeah.
The first ghost from this one is pretty freaking
Oh,
creepy.
we
yeah.
hated it.
Yeah.
We hated it.
Yeah, the
I
mouth
like-
doesn't move enough.
It's like a
something.
scary marionette.
doesn't
You know what it
move
reminds me of? It
It's
reminds
like-
me of the in the first, I believe it's the first Toy Story film, the baby head on the spider.
Yeah.
legs.
Yes.
That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
And it has to be on purpose because Muppets are so emotive. So like,
Yeah.
and you know that a Muppet is going to be overly emotive
It's
and
like
mouth moving.
it's like a
And
geisha.
and
It's
it almost
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah, it's like Carl was perfect with the note. Like the mouth almost doesn't move enough because I think that's also why the Muppets' mouths move so much is to make you feel comfortable. Like, oh, they're talking, like blah blah blah.
Originally, they wanted
That was definitely very unsettling.
Muppets We Know to play the three ghosts. They
no,
wanted
this
Miss
works
Piggy to be
this way.
one. They wanted Gonzo to be one. And they wanted Statler and Waldorf to be one. And there were kind of discussions of who goes where. And it was ultimately scrapped in favor of brand new Muppets to better underline the ominous nature of the three ghosts. They didn't want familiarity. Oh, that's Gonzo, because then that takes away
It was
from
a good decision.
Right. I think it makes or breaks the movie.
Oh, there was the Christmas present ghost when he's like cornered in the house and he like
Yes.
scales down.
Yeah.
That was incredible. That was
Yeah.
like perfect.
I
How'd they do that?
I don't know how they did that. It was
Forced perspective, maybe, or like
But it seemed like it
um,
was a different puppet at the end of it or something.
like-
Like it was.
oh,
When
and
you
then he
have
ages.
It could be one of
yeah,
those
it's good
things
too.
that they do in reverse in movies where they push the camera forward on a track
Right.
or on a gimbal, but then change the focal
like a
length.
tilt shift kind of effect or
Yeah,
something.
so that it takes it from very flat to very round for dramatic effect. But if they do that backwards, it would shrink him.
I wonder if that's how they did
it worked
that.
really
it,
well.
It could be something like that. There were also a lot of forced perspective in the street scenes the external street shots. The further away you got, the smaller the buildings became. It's just like Disney.
Yeah.
Disney does that. It's a forced perspective kind of deal, and they were actually very afraid of that in the crane shot at the very end of the movie. If you watch it again, you will notice, because they pull out up and high, that you notice that the buildings are small in the back. But they decided that shot was more important than the very, very few people who would notice that. And admittedly, I didn't notice it.
I didn't either.
Yeah, I didn't notice that.
So good on that. They made a lot of creative decisions. And God, they've been doing the Muppets for 20 years plus at this point. So they knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing. I have an
The
ant on me.
puppeteering, I feel like, was a lot more impressive in this one than in the Muppet movie. Like, they really locked it in.
Well,
like him, like,
I mean,
running on the like pig in the on the spit, like that was like
Yeah,
so good.
like, that's very
and
good.
the shadow on the wall too. I was just like, yeah, it's crazy.
You know that keeping the pig moving is the key to a perfect duck or whatever.
What I was going to ask is, because you're not a Muppet person, though, how did you feel? Oh, Jesus Christ.
I don't want you guys to hate me.
No,
She
there's
hates
no,
the
I don't
Muppets.
hate it. I don't hate the Muppets. I just don't think they're like, this is so fun and fun. You know, I just don't think it's necessarily it. Like, I didn't not like watching it, but I also wasn't like.
It's not the holy grail.
I
of
wasn't
interpretations to you.
really moved that much by any of it. So I'm like, the Muppets
This is like me
the
making-
Muppets for me are like fine. They're good.
Well, you don't have any childhood connection to the Muppets,
Like,
which I think
the
does
Muppets
you a
are
big
good.
disservice. To
I
movies like this.
appreciate them. I appreciate the skills and all that, but I'm just like, it's not my thing.
I think that you struggle with things that aren't real people on a level.
Yeah, I agree.
You don't identify with animation. You
Yeah.
really don't identify with anime. And extend Muppets to that as well. And I wonder what that is. I wonder if it is a like psychological distrust, like almost an uncanny valley thing of that's not a person, so I don't like it. Or is it not that deep?
Well, I mean, I like it. Well, I was gonna say, I don't know if I necessarily always struggle with animation. I struggle with new animation if I'm not connected to it.
What that
Like, as a kid.
But you like
So, yeah.
you like Bob's Burgers though.
Loosely.
That's-
She's not.
That's
She wouldn't
different,
watch it
though.
alone.
Okay.
I would not watch it
She
by
wouldn't
myself.
put it on. But she doesn't mind it.
and
like,
she doesn't like
sh-
most of the newer Disney movies either.
I can't be bothered to watch them.
Well, and she doesn't like.
But I also don't want to watch them by myself, and he's not going to watch them.
Yeah.
You know,
So-
like a adult. To the Bob's Burgers point, she doesn't like adult geared animation. Like Archer, she doesn't.
I hate
she
Archer.
Actively hates
I
Archer, which
also
David
kind
doesn't
of-
like Archer.
I don't
but-
really like adult geared animation either. I like Bob's Burgers, and that's kind of it.
Metalocalypse.
That's still don't do nothing for me.
Metalocalypse.
Like,
So good.
It's,
I've never watched it.
and
Oh my God.
I almost more want kid geared animation.
Okay.
As long as besides like I love anime, but like Adventure Time, Steven Universe.
Oh yeah.
But Adventure Time had a little crossover. It's just like Clone Wars
Yeah,
did.
yeah,
The older it
course.
got, or the more mature it got, the more mature it got.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
it grows in real time.
But
It's
I want
really
to grow with
interesting.
it.
But like Dragon Ball too, like that's geared towards kids, but also,
Right.
you know, it is.
But I grew with it when
Yeah,
as it
yeah.
grew.
Did you watch? What was your balance between as a kid, cartoon, and like content versus live action content?
Versus live action. I mean, like, you mean like kid, like elementary school?
I would say very young to about 13.
probably mostly animation.
Because mine was like 70-30. Like I watched mostly animated stuff.
I think we watched mostly
Up
animated
until I was probably
stuff.
15.
Nah. Although I say that, but like Disney Channel original movies, like The Parent Trap with Lindsay Lohan, like that was it. Like the Beverly Hills,
Luck of the Irish.
look at all that stuff.
Brink.
So like that was on a lot.
Escape Out.
The Brandy and Hammerstein Cinderella was
You know,
awesome.
I've seen literally none of these. I've seen actually Luck of the Irish. It's dog shit.
But like I didn't grow up watching any of the old like Andy Griffith Show, MASH, any of that.
See,
So,
I grew up with
like
Andy
we watched
Griffith Show and
yeah.
MASH and All in the Family and Sanford and Son, which I own every episode of on DVD.
We talked
things like
about that time
The Carol
disassociation the
Burnett
other day.
Show.
Like I watched MASH a lot as a kid, and I don't know why. Like,
Well, it's because
it,
your parents
yeah.
probably liked it, or it was just on.
it was just on.
Like it was on TCM all the time when we were growing up.
It's weird. Like as a kid, everything I was seeing, I was like, oh my God, this was made like yesterday.
Yeah.
And so like Muppets and stuff, I was like, this is the most relevant stuff possible. This is amazing.
We did
and little did I know that the Muppets at that point were
30
on a
years old.
steep decline,
Oh my God.
actually.
We just watched Wizard of Oz, and I remember thinking
Oh yeah, I
the
thought Wizard of Oz came
sepia
out
to
like,
color. I was like, bold choice. Like, what an interesting creative decision. It's like, no, that was a miracle in 1939.
I remember like really genuinely, I was watching like, not to talk about, but we talked about it the other day of like, I watched Star Wars when I was like 10, and I'm like, this is cutting edge. I cannot
Well,
believe.
yeah, you don't. I
You have
think
no
that's
clue.
why.
You have no clue.
Like, if we were to have a kid, I'd be like, that child is not allowed to know that there's any Star Wars media outside of the original 3 movies until they've seen the original 3 movies at least once.
yeah,
Because there's no putting the genie back in that bottle.
no, not at all.
If you were to start your kid with like machete order or storyline chronological order, you'd screw that kid up. Because imagine going from Revenge of the Sith to A New Hope,
Yeah.
it'd be jarring.
I just kind of I love. I'm hoping that kids out there. So
There's
someone
always
made a
going to be
point-
old souls, though. There's going to be
and
kids
to
like
bring
me
this
out there.
back to Muppets. There was someone I listen to Disney podcasts, of course, because I go there all the time.
Yep.
I'm a child, and that's fine. And so they're getting rid of the Muppets show at Hollywood Studios.
Yep.
Genuinely one of my favorite things at Hollywood Studios. Very funny show. There is a I forget the name of the big guy, the big
The big fuzzy guy from the Muppet movie that
Yeah,
rides after the
Snuffle-
car.
I missed him in
no,
this one.
No, that's Sesame Street, the
No, but-
Snuffleupagus, but yeah.
you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
like the
Rah,
big
rah,
one.
rah, that guy.
Yeah, he's big. And,
I'm going to Google big
has
ass
to-
He's in the
Muppet.
room with us.
yeah, big ass Muppet works. But he
blinks a
he
lot.
actually comes out. Like he comes out in that show, and it's amazing. And Statler and Waldorf are up in the thing, like actually reacting to the 3D show the entire time. So if you take your attention off of the 3D show, you can watch them, and the animatronics are reacting and moving to what's going on the screen the whole show. It genuinely is a magical experience. And I'm learning, and one of the things that one of the podcasts they were talking about, they are changing the shitty Sweetums. I knew it was an S name. So what they are doing is changing the Aerosmith Rock and Roller Coaster.
Yeah, to a
Thank
Muppets
God
thing.
they're getting rid of it.
Yeah, dude,
They're-
Aerosmith hasn't been relevant.
They're retheming and sexual assault.
and
But
30
they're-
years ago.
But they're retheming it to Muppets, which is super cool.
Yeah, that's
they're
really cool.
retheming it to Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem. Amazing. It's the rock band
Going to be in a
inside of
groovy
Muppets.
car.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Animal, hopefully some cool animatronics. But they're getting rid of a 3D show and moving Muppets and retheming a roller coaster, which means Disney is almost acknowledging this isn't for kids anymore. It's for the millennials that remember what the Muppets was.
Yep.
Because the thrill ride is getting rethemed to Muppets, and they're not bothering to save the show. And that sort of bums me out.
It's part of why I don't hesitate to make fun of the live action remakes because they're shameless money grabs. But it allows millennial parents
Yeah.
to take their kids to a new version of the thing they grew
Or
up
just be like me and make your kid watch Snow White at 1.5.
Well, yeah,
And he
of course.
loved it. He loved it. He loved it a lot. It
with.
was
Of course. You hear that, Miss Rachel?
He
Your
yearns.
days are numbered.
He yearns for the old media.
They
like
yearn
I
for
said.
the old
He-
media. They don't want you.
We watched Robin Hood, and he was locked
Well,
the
that's
fuck
a
in for the
great-
whole time.
It's a great movie. Nobody can make me hate Robin Hood. Nick.
So it. We should stop letting him watch old things. that
I
we
think
love.
you're kind of right on a level. But
He
I
should-
wanted to watch Robin Hood, okay?
Yeah. I mean, I always do. But it's just rough that the Muppets and it doesn't like bum me out that Danielle doesn't have an attachment to them.
No, because it isn't fair. If you don't
it's
have
not
that
fa-
attachment,
right.
you can't retroactively get into stuff
And
like that.
I think you can, but there is a higher barrier to entry because you weren't given it.
You don't have the nostalgia, and like
I don't know
and
why. Like I
can
feel like
draw-
my mom has been like, I loved the Muppets as a kid, so I don't know why.
I think the difference between your mom loving the Muppets as a kid and my dad and mom loving the Muppets as a kid
Yeah.
is when I was a kid, my parents went, I love this. Let's watch it together. And then I got into it.
I just feel like, why didn't she do that?
I don't know.
I don't know. You'd have to ask her.
Yeah.
And not in an
Ask your mom
accusatory
why
way.
she hates you.
I mean, she didn't like the
What the
songs
hell,
on Frozen
Mom?
2, and she's kind of wrong about that.
My mom?
Yeah.
I don't remember my mom.
She didn't. I remember.
Oh,
running
she
into-
just didn't like
she
the.
didn't like Lost in the Woods.
Yeah.
Which is a
Other
great
than that,
banger.
she was fine. She was like, I didn't get it. Why do we stop in the middle? And I was like, because it's funny.
I haven't
Yeah.
seen
Who
Frozen
cares?
2. I'm not
Yeah.
going to let that movie kill again.
Frozen 2. Frozen 2 is good. Okay.
Frozen 2's
I don't.
Frozen
I'm
2 is
not.
good.
I listen.
Lil David loves it.
It's fine.
Except for
Don't
when
have
the
to like
Giants
it.
throw rocks, he gets really scared for
It's
some
scary.
reason.
It's scary.
I don't like.
Doesn't get scared about almost anything, and then those Giants throw rocks, and he's like, "Fuck this! I'm out.
Too much.
Don't like this."
him the Hobbit.
I know. I won't. That's
Also, don't show him the Hobbit because it's ass.
right, exactly. But it's I am trying to show him stuff that I loved when I was a kid, like Muppets and
Rocket power.
things like that. And
Oh.
it's
Rocket
you know,
power.
I do hope. I think the last chance that you might like really vibe with the Muppets thing is the newer one
yeah.
with Jason Segel.
Maybe.
Because he, man,
If you think we're
it's-
not going to watch Muppet Treasure Island,
well, that movie rules.
the
But-
movie where Aaron McGathy watched while she waited for the coroners to take
Yeah.
away her recently deceased mother.
Yeah, that
Remember that,
movie,
Carl?
that movie rules. Tim Curry is a giant human Muppet, basically. And Treasure Island's a great story. Like it's genuinely a great story. It's
Do you
kind
watch
We could do a
that
pirate
first or
month.
Treasure Pirate or Treasure our Planet?
Treasure
first?
Planet. Treasure Planet's so
I
good.
can't say words.
No,
It's
next-
been a long
next
week,
year-
guys.
Pirates.
Next year we need to have a month where we watch both Treasure Planet and Atlantis because
Yeah.
I've seen neither
And,
one.
you
And I'd
gotta
like to
watch-
watch Osmosis Jones.
and you gotta watch Pacific Rim because
Oh.
Pacific Rim is set in 2025, which is so weird.
Oh,
We're here. John Boyega is going to power a robot.
That's the second one.
ooh,
That's okay.
okay.
Who's in the first one?
Charlie Hunnam
I don't know who that
and Idris Elba.
Oh, okay. I like
Wow.
Idris Elba.
It's Guillermo del Toro's mech movie. Just
I
giant mechs.
Guillermo del
I know,
Toro.
it's weird.
'Cause I like Hellboy, and I'm all on an island on this show for liking Hellboy.
I mean, Hellboy is perfect.
I like
so
Hellboy.
I don't. Hellboy 1 and 2 are.
Boy, did
Pan's
I watch
Labyrinth, Is that the
Hellboy.
same guy?
Cameron just way overhyped it. He was just
I-
like, "This is the best superhero movie I've ever seen."
I mean,
and I was
I'm
like,
kind of with
"Okay,
him. I'm
all
kind
right,
of with him.
fine."
What I said was it has a similar feel to the first two Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies tonally.
Yeah,
And
it
I
does.
stand by
Yeah.
that. That's a bitchin' movie.
It is rad.
It's so good.
I don't know.
I
where
might
we're at
have
on
been
time.
a little bit inebriated when I saw it the first time. But I was off my rocker. It's so good.
Hellboy feels more. Well, never mind. I'm not even
Then
gonna say
then
it. Never
Forrest was
mind,
like, "You
never
love the
mind.
comics," and then I bought
All
100%
of
of the
them?
Hellboy comics, and I've read
my God.
0.
I love a full send.
Cameron loves full
spent like
sending.
I
Full
did.
spend.
I did almost genuinely
spend.
buy, or find a copy of A Christmas Story to like listen to as an audiobook because I
Wait,
realized I've
Christmas
never
Carol.
Christmas Carol.
He's not shooting his eye out.
No, God, I don't like that movie.
Me either.
That movie's bad.
Imagine a book.
It's a perfect slice of post-war
I just don't like that movie. I've never liked it. I've
the
never.
dogs eat the roast. It's great.
But,
There's a lamp that looks like a leg.
Yeah, must be Italian.
Yeah.
but it's like I just genuinely I was like, you know what? I've never actually read this story.
No, I
story.
almost ordered the Charles Dickens
Yeah.
novella, if you will, today because it's quite short. I read.
I did get to watch him narrate most of that movies, but I should read his book.
There's a YouTube channel I like called How to Drink. It introduced me to cocktail making at home, and he has, I think it's like 4.5 hours, but he live reads next to a fire as his Yule log. He reads A Christmas Story, so I might look that up.
Yeah, that would be nice.
There you go.
Does he make like a companion drink?
Probably.
Oh, that'd be kind
It's
of
kind of
nice.
his bit.
What if we did that?
Well, I wonder
as
what
a
they were.
friends?
Well, the answer would be make a hot toddy.
I mean, not to make.
And I make a decent hot toddy.
As friends.
And as does everyone because it's like 3 ingredients. But if you put tea in a hot toddy, I'm going to burn your house
I
down.
kind of hate the idea of hot toddies because of Ole Miss, but it's fine.
Well, you can
All
do
their
them without
fans-
whiskey.
All their fans yell "hotty toddy," and I think it's dumb.
You can do one. I forget what it's called, but you can do it with literally any Amaro as well. I might try one of those. Not tonight because I had 100 beers today. So, hit or miss time, Danielle. You are a
Mid plus.
Mid plus.
Oh, that's better
That's better than I
thought.
expected to.
Don't be pushed into a mid plus. You don't have to.
Like it was good. Like it was good.
You had fun.
It was good. I had fun, but not like a lot of fun. You know,
It's no Citizen
but
Kane.
some fun. Oh, Citizen Kane is boring.
Did you not think that? Did you not think that Scrooge's nephew was hot at all?
I wasn't concerned
Fred,
about it.
right?
Oh,
Fred.
Fred.
I can't even remember.
Yeah, wasn't concerned
He was
about
snarky, though.
hotness.
I thought he was attractive.
Yeah.
I
Well,
was trying to think of which would be the hottest Muppet, but
Ooh,
I
that's a good question.
don't have the list in front of me.
Man.
Gotta be Gonzo.
Here, you guys do your rating.
no.
You guys do your rating and let me think for a
Kermit.
second.
At
Kermit
one
is-
point, he
kidding
saw the
me?
chicken, and he's like, "Whoa!"
I just think
laughed so
Kermit's
hard.
like the everyman Muppet. He's so good. He's
But is
often-
that the hottest?
I will
He's relatable.
say,
He's a straight man.
I liked Miss Piggy a lot more in this. She was a much more supportive spouse.
Well, it's because
I didn't like her in the first movie.
They corralled her meanness,
She
which is
said-
her bit.
She said, "Give him a raise. I'm gonna raise you off this pavement," and I died. I love that line so much.
It's a hit for me. I love it. I liked it a lot. It's good. Not as good as the Muppet movie
Okay.
for me. If the Muppet movie is like a 10, I think this is like a 8.2.
Yeah, as far as Muppet media goes,
Muppet movie on top for me, man.
Muppet
It doesn't-
media.
Just
this is
curtain jerking with Rainbow Connection. Come on.
Yeah,
You're not going to
it's-
beat that. Also,
yeah.
Moving Right Along is a banger.
moving right along.
yeah.
is a-
Moving Right Along. Carl.
It's I think it's a hit, but I kind of think I like this more than the Muppet movie. But I'm also a Christmas kid. Like I've always loved
Dude,
Christmas.
I'm a Christmas.
I
kid, too.
I love this story. I love I just love the themes of
Yeah.
like, it's a nice reminder to be good, and I just love that whole kind of character arc that he has. It's moving, honestly. Like
still healing.
despite being just kind of a Muppet thing. Wait, what?
I'm still healing Christmas trauma.
Yeah.
Personally.
But yeah, I mean, I like the songs. I know I notoriously don't like musicals, but I do for some reason like the songs in Muppet movies. So yeah, I
course
don't know
you
what they're
do.
doing right, but I like it. Yeah. Hit.
They're just better. It's a perfect medium.
No.
No, I did too much guitar playing for Christmas season.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure
Yeah,
what you
that's
were.
fair. That's
Christmas is
fair.
still.
Side-eyeing
This is
me
only my
about.
second year out since quitting. So Christmas is the time of like learning 25 songs.
Yeah.
I'm
And
not gonna lie. I've had a busy Christmas season with music, and I am tired.
welcome to
I'm
hell.
tired.
Welcome to hell.
And it's
the
not
upside
even
for you
Christmas
is
yet.
your fingers don't hurt.
Yeah, my fingers don't hurt.
Because the
No, just my
other
throat.
thing is like, hey, let's play a
Just your
million
vocal
Christmas
cords.
songs when it's cold and your fingers are like tissue paper. Sucks. Hit or
Hottest
miss?
Muppet is Kermit for me.
Yeah,
of
Kermit for me
course.
as well, of course.
Second closest Animal. Love Animal. But
If we
yeah.
extend it to the Muppet Cinematic Universe, Oscar the Grouch. But he's very animal.
yeah,
He's just grumpy. I like that.
hit.
Hit, of course. So
huge
hit. Miss.
It's still a big room banger.
And that's okay.
Still a banger. This is a good movie.
I'm proud to be
I had
part
one
of a
extra
big...
I think
note
Michael
that
Caine carries, though.
I don't know if it was intentional or not, but at the end of the movie, Scrooge wakes up and he's like happy to be alive or whatever, and there's a lot more people. I don't know if you guys noticed
Yeah.
that too.
Yep.
And I
was
read
people
that
at the
as,
beginning,
he's
though.
seeing them as peers now. Like he's had this like kind of turn.
interesting
Yeah.
thing to draw. I like that.
Because the only other people in the movie are like
pleases
his
me.
relatives or people that he's like in love with or whatever.
There's
so I
a
was like, okay,
couple
well, now
humans
he's
at
kind of
the
seeing
beginning.
common man. Yeah.
There's a couple humans at the beginning, but they're not really highlighted in the intro song like they mostly did that with Muppets and anthropomorphic fruit.
Yeah.
But
Little
yeah.
fruits.
The fruits
like that.
are in multiple scenes, which is kind of fun.
What's the cheese line?
Mises with no cheeses?
Yeah,
no,
Mises with no
cheeses
cheeses.
for the Mises?
Yeah.
I
like
did
that.
write down. My mother told me never to eat singing food.
Yeah, that's a,
Wrote that down. I don't remember when that was said.
Underrated line. That's good.
It was at the banquet at the party with
Yeah.
Okay.
Fozzie Bear.
Okay.
I also love that they introduce everybody as a character except for Rizzo the Rat as himself.
have
He's
we been-
always a rat.
We've been going for 100 years. We need to wrap
Ooh.
this shit up.
Oh,
It's
really?
Like an hour 10.
oh, I'm so sorry.
Not quite. I mean, yeah.
Well, yeah, but these people get things
So
to
what are
do.
you guys doing next?
Okay, so wait. Are we ready
Next
for that?
week on.
Yeah.
We've done hot points. We're not doing 20 questions
There's
because
no
it's
hot
Nick's turn
points,
and he's
no 20
dead.
questions.
So yes, our next movie is one that. Am I the only one who hasn't seen it? I think.
What is it?
Tim
I might-
Allen's Santa Claus.
Oh,
The first Santa Claus movie. I just haven't ever seen it.
Yeah.
Haven't ever seen it. So
It's the Santa Claus.
it's the Santa Claus. So
Because it.
I know
with
Tim
an-
Allen's kind of a cock, but
It
I,
ends-
I
The
just,
Santa Claus.
wanna see
Yeah,
it,
it's
so.
the clause. It ends with an E. It's the Santa Claus. And you'll find out why.
Find out what that means.
I think I know a little bit about the plot just from the cultural zeitgeist of the last 30 years. But I'm excited to see
think-
the movie.
So, despite Tim Allen and his beliefs,
Yeah.
that movie,
Cock.
the first movie, is genuinely very good.
All right.
Wait,
And
what
I-
happened to him?
He's just a conservative chud.
He's just, he's
Oh.
kind of a weirdo.
I knew about the Coke stuff back in the day. I was like,
He-
I don't
he
know what's
blames-
going on
That's
anymore.
admirable. You got to run some
Water
coke.
under a bridge.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird anti-woke jokes in his Santa Claus Disney Plus show if you want to watch that.
Yeah.
And I'm, it's whatever.
Yeah.
He had to have some creative control for them to try to get that.
I think Disney, obviously they want that audience too, which is why
Um,
they keep giving him the keys to different sitcoms that are all ass.
So that's
What's that
fun.
one-
I got to watch it just in case because Nick might be dead.
Yeah, Nick
So-
might be dead.
Hopefully
Nick, don't
not.
die.
Don't
So-
die.
Not.
Come
I
back.
don't want you to be dead.
That will actually release on Christmas Eve as well.
Oh.
And then
Christmas Eve.
this has to be said. When is it? So the week of Christmas, we're taking a break. So we're going to have a week off,
course.
which means there will be no show the first Tuesday in January,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
which
the-
is like the first or
Yeah.
January
it's
30th. It might be
31st.
December 31st.
I think it's December 31st.
it's New Year's Eve.
So no show New Year's Eve because we.
So no show
Carl's
for 2 weeks probably
No, we're gonna record
on January 1st.
We'll
on January
record
2nd or
some
3rd.
other
Okay.
day
We're
that
we're gonna
week.
do our
Sorry.
year-end recap show.
This is all riveting for the
It is. This is podcast dynamite,
people.
as Jeff Davis
love,
would say.
People love when
Housekeeping.
housekeeping.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little behind the curtain, you know.
No show
Yeah.
the 31st.
Wait, did Nick rank it? Do we know what he gave it?
No, we didn't ask.
I thought he might have told Joel. Okay.
We should have asked him. Didn't think about it.
I didn't want to come in depressed. I love
That's
him.
Nick.
but-
What do you think?
No, in the chat.
What do you mean? Yeah, he can put it in Discord. Which
Yeah.
join our Discord. Follow us on all the things. Follow us on TikTok while it lasts.
For the next-
Rip.
I really
40
like
days.
and reacting to the episodes in the Discord and then
Oh, it's a blast.
It makes me. It brings a smile to my face.
Thank
yeah.
you.
to
So hop
have your
in.
commentary.
Links are in the doobly-doo below if you're on YouTube, and also somewhere, probably in the details tab of your local podcatcher,
Probably.
as David would say.
that's what I use because I don't watch the show on YouTube.
Yeah. Well,
I listen
know.
to the show.
it's better to listen to. I think
Oh, thanks.
we just do this because social.
Video's good.
Which the socials. You wanted to make an
Well,
announcement.
wanted
I was
to
supposed to
say
remind you at the
our
beginning.
clipping has been
forgot.
jacked, and we haven't. Our clipping software has been broken for a really obscure reason, which I'm not going to get to. So more short content to come. But the well ran dry, and I got tired of looking back into old episodes. So that's why
So
like the over the garden wall clip was so late. Is because I had to go backwards because the clips weren't clipping.
It's hard to do that.
It's hard to run a podcast when it's not your job. So hey, we all have other jobs.
Y'all are on Blue Sky, Twitter,
No, we're on Threads.
Threads,
Uh,
Mastodon.
Nick is on Threads. So if you tweet us or thread us on Threads, that's Nick. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, of course, and your local podcastist thing. So hey, Merry Christmas.
Merry
Scrabble.
Christmas.
Merry
Happy Chrysler. It's Chrism.
Merry Crisis.
Christmas.
We'll be back next week with the Santa Claus with an E at the end.
Kumbaya. She also does that one when they're doing the beer pong.
No idea.
Vine's funny.
We'll catch you in the next one.